So like one's a fake one, like a dummy.
Yeah, almost.
Okay, cool.
It's like 170 kilowatts for 2010 was 70 for a 2010.
Yeah. All right, so let's begin. So I was just saying that what we covered theoretically in terms of learning unit 1 yesterday is just budgeting and the purpose for budgeting and the relevance of budgeting. And then we also touched on um, standard costing system, right? And your actual costing system, all right? Which, again, was to some degree a recap, because remember, we said in first semester for financial management, we said that we used the application rate when it comes to fixed overheads, which is what you will see is very much closely related to your standard costing system. Okay, so today now we obviously just want to start doing exercises out of learning unit 1. Okay, and again, you'll see things that are quite familiar. So if I start with question 1.1, you see that here we actually have the budgeted receipts, all right, from debtors. That's all we really have there. That's all they're asking you for. And I know you guys have obviously covered this in Financial Management 2A, because I happen to be close friends with your lecturer, believe it or not. All right, and then 1.2, again, is another one of these schedules. This time, again, they're actually asking for the budgeted receipts. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I'm just showing you that obviously your knowledge from 2A does seep into your knowledge of 2B, or assists you with 2B. So that's what I actually wanted to give you guys for homework. All right, but I figured, no, you know, it's fine. I think from my assessment of, you know, your exams and stuff like that, the schedules were not things that people were struggling with. So I was kind of like, no, you know what, it's fine. Let's just tap into the stuff that we obviously need to progress into that we haven't learned from 2A. That said, let's do question 1.3 and go over what's going on over there. Okay, cool. So in question 1.3, under the required, they say, prepare the monthly cash budget of Latino dealers for January, February, and March 2009. So again, we are still doing budgets, but obviously it's just been extended a little bit, and you'll see where and how. Okay, so now reading through the question, it says the budgeted transactions of Latino dealers for the first quarter of 2009 are as follows. Okay, budgeted total sales amount to 633,600. Okay, so that's the budgeted total for the quarter. All right, then they say 25% will be sold during January. Okay, so this is important information because obviously in the test or exam, you will actually have to build this budgeted receipt schedule. Okay, so you'll obviously be jotting down January 25%, all right, 35% during February, and the rest during March. Okay, so if you add 25% plus 35% gives you 60%. So March is then 40%, 100%. Okay, right? And that's for total sales. Okay, then it goes on to say half of the sales are expected to be made on credit. Okay, so every month half of the sales is on credit and half is obviously then for cash. Okay, they didn't tell us that bit. We must obviously come to that conclusion. All right, then it goes on to say debtors usually pay their debts as follows. Okay, again, this is stuff we've seen before. 60% in the month following the month of the sales, 30% in the second month following month of the sales, 8% in the third month following the month of the sales, 2% is written off as irrecoverable in the last month of collection. Okay, right. Then we go on. So that's basically our sales breakdown in order for us to do our schedule for our budgeted receipts. Okay. Then going on, it says point 2. Purchases are expected to amount to 396,000. Cost of sales is 62.5% of sales. Why is that relevant? Cost of sales is 62.5% of sales. Not the profit? No. You guys are treading on it, but you're touching on the
Break even?
nope, not break even.
Value of your stock is without your markup on it.
Value of your stock. Why do we want to know the value of our stock without the markup? What is that relevant for?
Writing it off.
Huh?
I just got you.
Why do we want to record our inventory? We need to know how much we paid for it, right? And what do we call that? Okay, yes, purchases. Remember, we need to work out how much money is also leaving us in terms of purchases. Make sense? So that's why they're telling us that there. Okay? There is no opening or closing stock. Okay? 50% of all purchases are on credit, while creditors are paid in the month following the month in which the purchases were made. Okay, so here they made our lives simple. In other words, whatever we bought on credit, we paid the following month. Does that make sense? So there they've made our lives easier. Okay. Right, then moving on to point 3. So point 1 and point 2 is basically all the information that we need in order to do our schedule. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, but anyway, when we start going into the question, right now we're just reading through the question, seeing what's important for us in order to complete the question, and then we'll just have a look at that there. Okay, so number 3. Sales personnel receive a commission of 10% on sales. Okay, then it goes on to say, office personnel receive salaries of 7,200 per month each. Okay, there are 3 office staff members. Okay, so obviously that's 7,200. What are we doing with it? We're timesing it by 3 for each month. Make sense? Okay. Then last statement there, they say the commission and salaries are paid in cash every month. Okay. All right. Then going on to 4, a new passenger vehicle with a higher purchase price. Who knows what a higher purchase is?
Isn't it like a lease agreement?
It's a lease agreement. We bought this vehicle on credit. Make sense? Okay. Yes. I don't know, 14?
14.
Okay.
That's a new one. We're on 1.3.
Yeah, we're doing question 1.3. Okay. Right. Where was I now?
Number 4, sir.
Thank you very much, Ash. Okay. And then it says will be purchased on 1 February 2009. Okay, so it's giving us the date. Remember, we're doing this for the quarter. So now they're giving us the date when we actually purchased the vehicle. Okay, which is 1 February 2009. A deposit of 1/3 of the higher purchase price must be paid on 1 February. Okay, very typical. When we go to a dealership to buy a car, usually, not always, you'd need to pay a deposit upfront. Okay, and the balance must be paid in 24 equal monthly installments starting 1 March. Okay, so the immediate following month, we obviously have an installment. Okay, that must be paid. Then 1,200 depreciation to be written off per month on this vehicle as from 28 February. So from the first month that we bought the vehicle, we are obviously taking off depreciation. Okay, next one. Income tax amounting to 14,400. And guys, I didn't think I would have needed to say it, but you can see all the pencil marks that I'm making. So I don't need to reread the question. It's something that I also advise that you do. Just circle, make a little note so you don't have to reread the whole question. Exam and test. But yeah, you guys are seasoned. I'm sure you guys do this anyway. But just as a reminder, because some people just arrived today. No names. No names. Income tax amounting to 14,400 is payable during March 2009 to SARS. Okay. Then we have dividends of 10,800 declared on 31 December 2008 must be paid 15 February. Okay, so we know dividends is only getting paid in February. Okay. Then the following balances appear in the books, okay, of Latino dealers on 31 December 2008. Why is this of relevance? Are we using any of these amounts here?
Yeah, there would be the opening balance.
Mm-hmm. We need furniture for our budget.
No? But we don't need
none of
all.
them.
We don't need all. Which ones do we need? Someone said we need none of them.
Furniture and bank we don't need. Furniture and bank we definitely don't need.
And the other two?
Debtors, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Are we doing the balance sheet?
No.
So why would we need the debtors?
Because we're doing the receipts.
Hey, are you guys still on holiday? Are we
Actually,
here?
I'll stick by my statement. We need none of them.
Do you guys agree with him?
Yeah, zero.
I'm
None
gonna
of
say
them.
no just because I don't want to give it. I don't know what's going on, so we'll just vote.
We need none of them.
We need none of them. How many say we need none of them? Guys, you know me, eh? We're gonna vote again if you do not raise your hand for something. So, how many say we need none of them? Which requirement? We read the requirement first. That's the first thing we started with. So again, the required, under the required, it says prepare the monthly cash budget
I'm sure. Sir.
of Latino
I'm
dealers
very sure.
of January, February, and March.
I'm very sure.
All right. How many
None of
say?
none of those figures. Not even. We don't even need income tax. Mars that. I promise you. Don't need it.
Why
We're
do
just
you?
doing the budgeted receipts,
Yeah.
which is 0.8 you need and 0.1 and 2. The rest is irrelevant.
Are we only doing the schedules? Are we only doing the
Yes.
budgeted receipts and
It says prepare the monthly cash budget of the Tino dealers.
cash budget, isn't it? So it's not just about this. It's not just about these schedules. Because these schedules tell us how much money we expect to receive, whether it's via cash or whether it's via credit. And also it tells us how much money we expect to pay for purchases, whether it's via cash or via credit. But they're asking us for what? The cash?
Cash budget.
Nadia, can you repeat what you thought may be of relevance?
Bank cash budget.
Because we need the opening balance of our bank. Does that make sense? All right, guys. Okay.
Didn't even cost for this. Wait, you remember? Like it's in a
No. But thank you, Thomas. I think
But
you
sir,
steered our
is
engagement there.
This and this,
Yes.
and then what else part of the cash?
So let me give you a glimpse of where we're going. So you can you see? This is what they finally want. This is actually the focus. Remember, we're doing a cash budget. So since we're on the topic, I might as well just, so you see, if you look at opening balance estimate on the bank, what amount do you have there
The opening balance.
of the bank? Okay. All right. So yeah, it is actually a big exercise, 100%, because you have to do the schedules first, get those right, and then you come to this.
There's 30 marks.
Hopefully. And no, I'm sure a lot more than that. Yeah. But at minimum, it would have to be 30 marks. Okay, but they'll never ask all this in an exam. It would be a lot shorter.
Just a
Yes.
quick question.
Yeah.
Off the record.
Yes.
Would you say it's harder finance 2A or 2B?
I'd say 2B. I was actually talking to Thomas and 5. I know you guys are up for the challenge. I
Because
know.
2A was a breeze, eh? But,
Guys, me all I'm gonna say, ne, is just make sure you do decently on the tests. That's all I'm gonna say. Because let me leave it there. You'll see for yourselves as we go along. You'll see. And then you'll tell me what you
did you
think.
go over the module outline already?
No, we didn't. We didn't. But we can do that. We can do that. Maybe we'll do it in the next session. Okay. All right. So where were we? So 100%. Only bank is needed there, and we know it's favorable. We know where we're going to use it. So let's go on to number 8, the last one. Credit sales were as follows during 2008. October, 99,000. November, 59,400. And then finally, December, 79,200. Why are they telling us about October, November, December credit sales when we are concerned with January, February, and March? Because we are obviously working the budgeted receipt schedules. You guys are 100% correct. I'm just saying it in a different way. And so obviously we know that there will be income that we are going to receive from October from debtors who need to obviously give us some money in relation to credit sales that took place in October, November, and December. Okay, so I'm sharing all of that so you can already begin to see, okay, as I'm reading through such a question, these are the things that should be of relevance that I should take note of. Okay, so now going into it, we've obviously marked what is critical for us, what is important for us to answer the question. The next step would be to obviously start with our schedules. Okay, so they told us, remember, they told us, so I'm actually just going to probably do maybe 1 or 2 of these because I think these schedules are a little more complex than the ones you guys have done because they've just added 1 or 2 things to it. So here they actually told us the budgeted sales, and they said it was, what's going on here? Okay, it's working. All right, so they told us that, let me actually write in green. They told us that the budgeted sales is 633,600, isn't it? Okay, and how much of that is going to be sold in January? 25%. Okay, so you say times 25%, isn't it? Right? But remember, what do you get after that? Maybe before I go on. Yes, the total sales is then how much? 1585. 400. Okay, happy. So that's the total sales for January, isn't it? Okay, but some of that we know is cash and some is credit, isn't it? So we then say, how much is cash and how much is credit? 50%. It's 50-50, okay? And that you can just say divided by 2, okay? So that is how they're then coming to this answer here for the cash for January, okay? And then that is how they're coming to. Let me actually highlight this, right? So that you guys can follow exactly what I'm saying. So there you can see. Remember, our first step when we were looking at building schedules was to get how much were our credit sales in the respective months. Okay, so you're following that same first step. Okay, only thing is now you're also worried about the cash as well. Okay, so here you've got your 79,200, and there you've got your 79,200. Okay, you go on to do the same thing for the remainder of the months. You know that February was what percentage? 35%, and we know that March was 40%. Okay, so if you say again 35% of the 600, and we can literally even just erase this and do the calculation here if we wanted to. I'll use black this time. So times 35%, what do we get? Remember my 221? 760. Okay, and that is for February. Okay, and again, that's total sales. So we want to split that between cash and credit. So we then say divided by 2 because we know it's 50-50. Okay, and you get the same amount. Okay. Yep. This thing is not respecting me. All right, there we go. Okay, so again, I just want us to understand, okay, how did we build our schedule? There we go. So once you have finished getting, this is how much I should receive cash sales, this is how much I should receive credit sales, we then go on to say, okay, cool. Now we need to build our schedule. Okay, these amounts here from October to December, they were given to us. That was 0.8 in the additional information. So there we didn't need to do any calculation. However, we obviously then now need to do the how much are we receiving when. Okay, and I'm not going to go back into that because you guys had that practice and exposure to that in 2A. Okay, and that's how we then obviously build our budgeted receipts from sales. Thank you, Ash. All right, and we get our totals. Okay, we then go to the purchases. We are looking to do the same thing. And there this time, what did they tell us? They said the expected amount of purchases is 396,000. All right. But this time they don't tell us how much is received in which month. Okay. But then they tell us cost of sales is 62.5% of sales. Okay. There's no opening or closing. And they say 50% of purchases are on credit, while creditors are paid in the month following the month in which the purchases were made. So what then must happen? If there's no opening or closing, what does that mean? If there's no opening or closing inventory
Use whatever you buy, you use.
in that month, isn't? So how then do we calculate what was bought in that month?
What was sold?
In other words, our sales, 100%. Okay. So we then now need to go to the sales and we say, okay, for January, what were our sales? And this is why they gave us the sales also for December, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we know that the total sales in December are what? Here they only gave us the credit sales. They gave us the credit sales. What am I doing? Credit sales.
So it says whatever you've used in that month to pay the following month.
But again, we want to work out what our total
Purchases.
sales.
So-
Yeah, our purchases.
So
Sorry.
you would take, well, this is how I think you would do it, is you take the 62.5% over 100 times it by the sales to just get the purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And the sales for December was 79,200. Then he gave us that figure, 49,500.
Okay, but this was half of the sales, isn't it? Because remember, this is credit sales that they gave us.
Okay. But then we don't know what the cash sales is because it wasn't given to us.
Yeah. We don't know what the cash sales is, but we can actually calculate that. Because remember, they told us sales is 50% cash and 50% credit. So that means that to get our total sales would then be times 2 is equals to what? What do we get? It should be 100 and 400. So this is, again, I'm going to write here, total sales. Is everybody following? That's fine. Okay. So what we are trying to calculate is cost of sales. So we can work out our purchases. Because we know that cost of sales is equals to your purchases for that month. We together there. Okay? Because all our inventory gets used in the month that we purchased the inventory. Does that make sense? Because remember, they told us there's no opening and no closing inventory. We together now. So we know that our cost of sales is 62.5% of our sales. They told us that in the information. So now we have our sales, right? I just keep on hearing, So this should give us what? Our cost of sales, which we know is the same as our purchases, isn't it? Ish. Now I'm writing funny things. Is it making sense now? Where must I start? Okay. This is 99.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat for whoever asked me to repeat. Okay, I'm gonna repeat one more time. We finished with our budgeted schedule for receipts. In other words, how much money are we gonna receive when? Ne? Now we've moved on to how much money are we going to be paying out when for our purchases. Are you with me there? Okay. Right, Ash, what do you want to ask before I continue?
So it's fine, finish.
Okay. Now, you know what? You may not be wrong in how you want to calculate it.
No. I know how to get this.
Okay.
It's just I'm thinking about
Something else.
yeah in the future.
Okay.
But I want to first see what you do.
So going back to, in order for us to calculate our purchases, going back to the information they gave us, right? They never told us about how do we get our purchases. We had to decipher this information. They only spoke to cost of sales. Does that make sense? So cost of sales, we know cost of sales is, remember we always say cost of sales is how much we purchased our inventory. So we know that our cost of sales, which is why I did this here. Let me put it in a different color. Cost of sales is equal to purchases. Is it making sense? So if we can get our cost of sales, we can get the purchases amount for whichever month we are looking at. Does that make sense? Are we together? That's fine. Okay. I'm seeing head nods, not with confidence, but I'm getting the nod, so I'm happy. 396 is for the period, the quarter. Does that make sense? But they didn't tell us how much of that is for January, how much is for February, and how much is for March. Are you seeing that? And this is why now we're having to utilize the sales to kind of figure out how much for January did we purchase? Okay, so what did we do? Oh, sorry, actually, how much for December? We're starting with December. Okay. We're starting with December because remember we say we pay in the following month, the credit sales. So this total sales for, sorry, they only gave us December's credit sales, which was 79. That's under 0.8, yes. But we know that credit sales is 50% of total sales. Does that make sense? So we just times by 2. And that's how we got this 58,400 to get our total sales. We're together. Then when we have our total sales, we then said, okay, we know that our cost of sales is 62.5% of our sales. And that's how we got the 99,000, which I think Thomas or Ash provided us with, okay? And we know that this is including cash purchases and credit. I'm going to write it out here, cash and credit. Are you seeing that? So now we're saying this portion, we're only interested in the credit because the cash portion was for December. I wanted it. Yes.
No, now we're going back to
Keep your question. I'll answer you now. But you're not wrong. Ne? Okay. So now we know that 50% is cash, and remember we're dealing with December here, right? So December. Okay, so what is that 50%? Is it 79? 50% of 99. Okay, so 49,500 cash was spent on purchases in December, and we know that 49,500 purchases was on credit, which will only be paid in January, the following month, isn't? So now in our schedule, now can you see where?
Yeah, that's where the other payment fell in January.
There.
For the credit.
Yes. So I'm highlighting it here again. Let me start with yellow. That's where, and can you see the cash portion is here? Okay.
So,
yes.
How did you get S?
So S, again, we are looking at the sales. What was our sales for January? Here, it's the 79, isn't it?
So, yeah.
All right, but that's cash.
Correct.
So again, we have to say times 2. Just by, surprisingly, it's the same amount. You get your 159, right, to get your total sales. 62.5% of that.
That's what didn't make sense. I thought it was a mistake because it was the exact same figure. So I was like,
yeah.
No, it's fine.
Okay. So can you see you are just now repeating the process over and over again?
Yep.
Everybody happy with how we're getting our cash purchases and our credit purchases? Is it flowing? Okay. Right. Okay. So, and then obviously you total and then, yeah, happiness there. Okay. Right. So what's our time looking like? Okay. So I think let's take a break. Let's take a break now. And then when we get back, we'll then deal with actually doing the cash budget. What we've done now is we've just focused on, okay, cool, happiness. We have completed the schedules. All right. Now we actually want to do the budget. Okay. So let's take a quick break. And then when we get together after the break, then we will handle the rest of the question.